the relationship would obviously be stronger if you're personally meeting with someone once a year and like go out, get drinks together, play golf together, whatever that relationship may be. But the other thing that's really great with social media that I kind of just learned naturally a long time ago is all it is it's just an extension of yourself online. So I don't have the ability to call 500 people a day, meet with 500 people a day, have a relationship with 500 people a day, but I still want to have that many people connected to me or working with me.
Welcome back to the Prospecting Show. We have Doug Raible here on for another session. Thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about branding, probably a little more small business branding, marketing, and kind of getting new business. Tell kind of the listeners where you kind of come into that. Where have you had some experience? Where do you spend your time right now in that space?
Sure. So I come from honestly just building businesses myself and learning over time the smart strategic ways to actually market yourself and branding yourself and what customers actually appreciate and good client service. And just from running different businesses from anything from, financial planning to real estate to sales to, marketing and consulting, I've just learned over time a lot of these strategies. And the best part is once you learn it, you can implement it for any business. It's just a matter of changing up the demographics, the audience, and the message that you're sending.
Yeah. And so what kind of marketing would you say that you focus on? Like even before that, what kind of businesses do you work with? Do you mostly do B2B plays or B2C plays? Like where do you focus your efforts right now, or have you in the past?
So I've had multiple businesses that had different demographics. For my financial practice, we are a little bit of B2B as well as B2C. We focus on like the everyday person that's focused on investment management and retirement, as well as businesses that are trying to grow and helping them with their planning and management. And then on the real estate side, it's mostly B2B as I'm working with other, real estate professionals or other investors and business owners. So I guess you could say it's a blend of both.
Gotcha. And what would you say the primary difference in your mind is between marketing those two different markets? Like where do you find it easier, more difficult, or where do you see the differences yourself with what you do?
For consumer side, they generally want to have kind of an emotional attachment in one way or another. So whether it be really liking the message or following you as a person or just feeling good from the experience that they had, which obviously every customer that matters, but more so for a consumer, they're going to be focused on, can they relieve stress? Can they relieve a problem for me? Do I trust them? Can I, benefit from working with them? Whereas businesses are a lot more unemotional. Obviously, business is more logic and just what's the numbers, right? What's your cost? How can you save me time? How can I benefit from working with you? They don't necessarily have that emotional attachment. They're just looking at it black and white as to what's the best business decision for me and my company.
Yeah, absolutely. And with what you've done, either both on your, on your financial side or on the real estate side, where have you seen the biggest B2B plays kind of been successful? Is there a specific platform or specific method that you've found have been really effective for you guys?
It's pretty similar, honestly, generating that business in each demographic, whether it's B2B or B2C. It comes down from referrals. Obviously, once you work with someone, you ask for a referral of someone in a similar, whether it be similar industry for a business owner or, maybe a similar group setting or neighborhood or part of town for the consumer. The other thing is just social media in general, right? You could target business owners maybe on certain platforms like LinkedIn or, Facebook business groups, as opposed to just putting up more general content to like your Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat.
Right. It's a little bit more specific. And what are your thoughts on, one-to-many versus one-to-one marketing? And maybe I'll qualify that before you answer it. So if you're putting out an ad and let's say you run a $30 a day ad spend on Facebook and you cast out an advertisement to consumers and it's going out to 10,000 people, right? That's what the impression count is. How does that differ from like a one-to-one relationship management that you or one of your clients would have with another business. Do you see any difference there, or do you still feel that it's really the same result?
So I think that social media is just a way to expand the message and service that you do to a wider group of people at a much faster pace, and it's cost effective. So if I'm understanding it right, you're saying more so like if 100,000 people can see this message as opposed to you meeting with someone one-to-one, building that more connected relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think that the relationship would obviously be stronger if you're personally meeting with someone once a year and like you go out, get drinks together, play golf together, whatever that relationship may be. But the other thing that's really great with social media that I kind of just learned naturally a long time ago is all it is it's just an extension of yourself online. So I don't have the ability to call 500 people a day, meet with 500 people a day, have a relationship with 500 people a day, but I still want to have that many people connected to me or working with me. So social media is just a way that you can, multiply, to have a multiplier effect of that, to where maybe an ad of, some educational content or something that's going to help the audience that you're targeting, maybe 25% of those people see it. If you have another 2,500 people or 20,000 people that are now following your content and, looking to you for guidance, that's almost just as powerful as physically meeting with 25 new people.
Right, absolutely. And the reach is definitely a big thing. And I know in the marketing space, because we do a little bit of marketing ourselves, a lot of people talk impression counts. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on are two different factors. One is relationship count, and then actual business execution count. So at the end of the day, we look at it and say, yeah, maybe you have 20,000 impressions on this post or this podcast or whatever it is, the content strategy. But how many people converted from that, actually did some kind of business, did a phone call with you, sent you an email, followed up with you, or actually transacted with you? And I think for us, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is measuring those other two factors, because there's a lot of social media management companies out there that go straight impression, and impressions
Yep.
are really good. Like you're saying, 20,000 people saw this, but if 20,000 people that are the wrong people saw it, that's not useful either, right? So it has to be that right targeting, like you're saying.
Oh, 100%. I agree totally, because it has to be what's executed, right? That's great if 1 million people see this, but if you're out of business tomorrow because you have no sales, what's the use of that?
Exactly. And it's really the utility of the service, right? It has to be broad enough and wide enough and to the right audience so that they actually are willing to do it. Now, if we kind of
Sure.
take a step back and look at in your space, because you have a B2B and a B2C play, do you find there's a difference yourself taking someone through a sales process? I know you're not selling per se, but when you have someone who's coming to you for personal financial advice versus business financial advice, do you find that sales process or that networking takes any longer for the B2B versus the B2C play?
I don't think that the process is necessarily different, as far as like I'm not trying to present something or a perception of me differently between a consumer or an owner. But as far as the actual time involved in the process, it definitely is longer and a little bit more extended with businesses, because one, kind of like I said before, they're not emotionally attached. They're not just buying because you're a friend. They're doing their research, their due diligence. They're meeting with other people probably. They're going through their cost analysis. And then the other thing is they're just really, really busy. And if you ask them what's their priority, meeting with someone to help them, provide a service or manage their finances or whatever it is, or to get this sale closed or to get this real estate project developed that actually brings in the money to keep them in business, they're going to choose their business as the priority every single time, which I totally can get and relate to as well. But that definitely delays the process as far as from meeting and building that relationship to actually, signing them or working with them in the company.
Yeah, and that's true, because people's priority are really top line first, then bottom line last. And I think with a lot of the financial services, it's actually a top line and a bottom line strategy, but it's over time, right? And people always want
Right.
now. They're not worried about, an 8 to 10% return in the market for 25 years. They're looking at the $5,000 sale that's in front of them tomorrow.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. What's the immediate gratification? How can I pay this bill next week?
Right, exactly. And that's good, I guess, because it motivates people to sell stuff and transact in the marketplace place and kind of provide a service. But at the end of the day, I think the long run is always better, right? Like if you can spend the time to set up a good financial future while you're young, under 30, under 35, even under 40, and you kind of pack that all in and build a great system, long term, that's going to be great foundation. You're going to have better growth. So it's really like, are you willing to invest now, or do you want to delay and kind of work in the future? And I'd kind of argue that the instant gratification is kind of killing people because there's a huge need for financial planning up front. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. And like you made a great point, is basically having that foundation in place now, because the whole point of money management and doing these things correctly is it compounds over time. So besides just the fact of having money, consistently invested, regardless of what the asset class is, just putting money out there and working for you, time value of money just works. It's just a proven thing. But also to your point of like knowing what to do, right? Let's say that there's a more efficient way of managing your money or reducing your debts or buying certain insurance plans or whatever it may be. If you aren't tackling that today and you just kind of do your own thing and wing it for 20 years, think about the opportunity cost or all that money that could have been lost by being inefficient or having the wrong plan or not stashing a certain amount of money away. That over 20 years, that can make such a huge impact that I'm not saying that people can't come back from it, but you're going to be behind the 8 ball instead of in front of it.
Yeah. And that's the truth of pretty much anything that compounds over time, right? Even with business, right? If you get bad business mentorship and have bad business techniques and bad financial techniques up front, you're going to carry that forward for the next 15 years. And you can look back and say, well, yeah, this is a bad habit that you got into. And it's very hard to unwind that at that point. So I 100% agree with you there. What in your practice right now, in your financial practice, what is an ideal audience or ideal target for you? Who do you help the most, or where do you guys kind of specialize? I know you got the B2B and the B2C play, but for those people who are listening, who are interested in financial planning, maybe want someone to take a look at what they're currently doing, who is that actual audience for you?
So we can probably define that as 3. And it's kind of funny because over my career, I've like bounced around to so many things. I'm like, I'll work with this and this and this and this. And I just learned I'd rather be a specialist than a generalist, right? And focus on a couple things that I think I have a competitive advantage at, or I just really enjoy working with. So our 3 markets is, first is going to be business owners. We could pretty much handle anything involved with the business planning and business execution process. The next client base is our retirement clients. So we really like working with people that are gearing for retirement or just recently left their job and retired, managing that wealth and putting those plans together. And then the last is just the younger generation. Obviously, I'm a younger guy, so I kind of can relate to that. People getting their life started, right? They're starting to invest. They're getting married. They're building a family and, building this life together. What can I do to help get them on the right path and put that foundation in place? So those would be like our 3 markets that we either provide content for or seek out as far as potential clients go.
Gotcha. And so if one of those 3 markets or one of those 3 kind of target audiences that you guys have that extra, expertise and wanted to reach you, how would they actually find you?
So you could find us online pretty easily. Website is sterlingheightsfinancial.com. You can actually submit your information and set appointments online to connect with your calendar. So it's, at your best convenience. And then other would be just social media. I have pretty much any platform out there. You could find my phone number and email pretty easily online.
Great. And what's the main handle that people can go to find you on social, just so that they could reach you?
Probably my biggest platform would be Instagram, which is Pittsburgh Investor.
Okay.
And then probably next to that would just be my personal Facebook page.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show again here and doing this session on, some finance stuff and some business. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me on, man. I hope people find value in this.
Absolutely. Thank you.